Well, great. Let's go ahead, if we can, and jump on the phones and speak with Deborah in Oregon. Uh, Deborah, what can we do for you tonight?
Hello, everyone. How are you?
Great. Glad to hear from you. What's on your mind?
The thing is like I really a couple of things that Amberly touched on. Before I became healthy in my marriage, and I've been married 20 years now, 51 years old, I had to really overcome a lot of childhood trauma. And once I overcame that, I realized that sex was not something that was prohibited for females. We are sexual beings, and we need to just embrace that. And the way that we embraced it in our marriage is that we started doing phone sex. We would call in as a couple, and really it opened up a huge gateway for us to be able to embrace what we each needed in our marriage. And fast forward, 15, 20 years, we're now in a polyamorous relationship. We are getting ready. I'm getting ready to go to Vegas and spend 4 days with my boyfriend, and my husband is so supportive of that. He even tells me, he's like, you need to, get some stuff shaved up, make it look sexy, because, you're my woman, but I want to put you out, be proud of who you are, be strong in who you are, and know what you want in life. And I think that the phone sex industry really does help a lot of repressed people be able to come out with those fantasies and therefore embrace a more healthy sexual lifestyle.
Absolutely. No, I love hearing it. One piece of all of this that I feel like we've mentioned, but is worth continuing to highlight, is just the fact that working through voice allows you to explore in a way that you maybe can't through visual pornography or through role play or through, in real life sexual situations. I mean, think about all of the things that you can do in a book that you couldn't necessarily translate into a movie or into a real life activity. And I think that if people became a little bit more comfortable or more willing to explore through voice or through phone sex or these different things, that people would learn a lot about their sexuality that they've otherwise been uncomfortable or not yet ready to really tap into. Is that kind of what your experience has been, Deborah?
Absolutely. And the thing is even, I hate to feel like I'm beating a dead horse, but as a woman, it's even more difficult because we've been told our whole lives that we have to be a certain way, at least in my generation. You have to be a certain way. You have to behave a certain way. You have to be like a lady. You can't have these urges. Well, I got news for everybody out there. I love sex. I love everything about sex. I love being with my partner. I love being with my boyfriend, and I'm grateful that we had that outlet to start exploring things together, because I am in the healthiest place in our marriage that we have ever been. And it all started with, hey, honey, I just want to do doggy style, but I was too afraid to ask. I'm like, oh, I shouldn't be asking because I'm a girl and I should be prim and proper. Well, no, I mean, we got through it, and then he's like, hey, let's try this. Let's go on some phone sex stuff, and let's see what experience. And that opened a door so wide open. So I don't know if there's anybody out there who's in my age group or, man, if you want it, you got to just explore it and be honest with your partner, because I have now discovered after 51 years that I am a freak and I have lots of kinks, and I'm actually not ashamed of a single freaking one of them because I'm allowed to express them healthily with my partner. If healthily is actually a word.
No, well, congratulations. I mean, good goddamn.
Yes.
What a ringing endorsement. I appreciate so much you being willing to come out and say that. I think it can be really tempting to think that, well, sometimes on Secular Sexuality, we talk about sex workers, and I support sex workers, but I'm not one. And sometimes we talk about this kink, and that's great for them, but that's not me. I want to say that a lot of the things we're talking about tonight may not be you, but this one piece, this opportunity to explore and be curious about your sexuality through voice, this is you. If you're listening right now, there is something for you here. And whether that means you actually call up a phone sex line or find some other ways to explore through erotic audio, through a number of different free communities like Gone Wild Audio on Reddit and all of these different things, there is so much for you here. And rather than just going to Pornhub and watching the free video on the front of the page, I think that you can find out so much more about yourself and have such a more fulfilling and satisfying sexuality and satisfying sex life with yourself first and foremost, but then again also with your partner.
And that's the absolute truth, because if you can't be truthful with yourself or with your partner, then how are you going to stay happily married? How are you going to be fulfilling yourself as a person? And I can't stress it enough. There are women out there I know that were raised when I was raised, and it's so repressive to a woman. You can't be sexual. Well, no, sis, you can be sexual. You can enjoy sex. You can absolutely 100% get engaged with a phone sex worker and explore with your partner. You can explore 100 things. By the way, Amberly, I have been to the Red Rooster. Yes, once you go past a certain point, it is a little bit freaky and sex is involved, but it was something we were able to do consensually as a married couple, because that's something we wanted to explore. So I can't encourage women enough to just really explore this option and just grab a hold of yourself and say, hey, I'm going to do this for me. I'm going to be happy with who I am, and I'm going to embrace my sexuality.
Fuck yes. Also, again, Red Rooster, they tell you, they will tell you what you're about to see. It's a great place though.
Yeah, and just worth mentioning that there are, pretty similar kink or play spaces or swingers clubs and all sorts of things like that in most every city. So if you are a little bit curious about public nudity or phone sex or any of these things, find yourself some Google.
Or even just any kink. A lot of those swingers clubs, let's say that you're not a swinger, you're not an exhibitionist. It's actually, a lot of them have perfectly like normal meetings as well. When I say normal, non-sexual meetings, and you can ask them about certain types of kinks, role plays, whatever, and they can usually give you a ton of resources and maybe even find you a group that's local that plays in that kind of way. So
fair to say.
And that's the absolute truth. They can direct you to local groups or local things that you can look into if you're not ready to actually be at the club and be that open. There's many avenues that you can explore to just, because I can't explain enough how much happier of a human being I am now that I know that I'm not repressing wants and desires, and I'm able to express all of that to my partner and my other partner. I'm able to express all of that to them, and I can get what I need to feel 100% me, and I'm much stronger of an individual now that I stopped hiding parts of me.
Well said. I am just so appreciative of your willingness to call into the show and walk us through all of this. It sounds like you've done some really beautiful work on yourself, and it has absolutely paid off. So congratulations to you.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you allowing me to put myself out there and hopefully reach a couple people that are kind of struggling where I was struggling a couple years ago.
Well, thank you so much. You have a great night. Appreciate you calling.
Okay, you too.
Thank you.
Well, Amberly, if that is not a ringing endorsement of everything that we're talking about tonight, I don't know what is.
Or at least just a Red Rooster.
Yeah, right. Not a sponsor.